Hello everybody, we're getting ready to do lesson 9.2 Pre-Algebra Math Part 1. And today's lesson is simplifying square roots. We have a 32-point skill sheet today for classwork, and then we have 5 points here of taking notes. Teachers, today here is your bell work. What is the square root of 500 to the nearest integer? And then students, write the prime factorization of 484. Give you 5 minutes for this. Okay, welcome back for our solutions. Here is our inequality statement for finding the nearest integer square root of 500. So 22 is between, excuse me, 22 is less than the square root of 500, and then the square root of 500 will be less than 23. It's closer to 484 to 529, so square root of 500 is closer to 22 than 23, so it's approximately equal to 22. And this is really the crucial way to write it here. This would really be the answer. And then prime factorization of 484 is here. Factor out 4, 121, 2 times 2, 11 times 11, so here it is, 2 squared times 11 squared. That'd be the prime factorization of 4. Into our lesson today, you found square roots. Compare the following pair of products. So we have radical 4 times radical 16 equals 2 times 4 equals 8. So this would be the same thing as the square root of 64. You can factor it into radical 4, radical 16 would be the same thing. These are two perfect squares here, and they're perfect squares. So this result suggests a product property of square roots. This is a great little note here, and this is your classwork sheet, students, page 1. Algebra, radical AB equals radical A times radical B. And you have those limitations. Say, for example, radical 9 times radical 7. We have 3 times radical 7. This would be the radical square root of 63. Could be factored like this. You can use the product property of square roots to simplify radical expressions. A radical expression is in simplest form when no factor of the expression under the radical sign has any perfect square factor other than 1. There are no fractions under the radical sign, and no radical sign in the denominator of any fraction. So that's when you know it's in its simplest form. This concerns rationalizing the denominator of a radical. Okay, students, in your own words now, define simplest form. This is your notebook entry, page 2 of 9.2, worth 5 points. And when I teach this in the classroom, I usually check on Friday. Teachers, that's up to you when you check your notebooks. Okay, example 1, simplifying a radical expression. How would we simplify this radical expression here? Well, we can factor out a perfect square there times 5 underneath the radical. And we get this now. We separate off our two factors underneath the radical together. It'd be 6 times square root of 5 would be the factored form of radical 180. Okay, into a problem here. Our first guided practice. Students, this is yours. Pay attention up here so you know how to do this one. Okay, so radical 63, we did that up into the other slide. We factor out a 9 and a 7, so it'll be 3 times square root of 7 would be the factored simplified expression of radical 63. Okay, example 2, simplifying a variable expression. How would we factor that out? Well, we can factor it like this, 4, 6, and s squared. Factor using greatest perfect square factor, which in this case would be 4. And then what's left over? This is left over here. We know we can take the square root of 4. So, and then we put each of these factors underneath the radical. That's your next step, product property of square roots. And then this becomes 2 times the radical 6 times s. So don't forget, s squared, the square root of s squared will be s. So now we have 2s times radical 6 would be the factored form, simplified form of this radical here. Okay, now we're going to do a couple of these here. Students, this is yours, so pay attention. Our guided practice here, 54t squared radical. 9 times 6 times t squared, 9. Then we put each one of these under the radical. That's an important step right here, this step here. And then this becomes 3, this becomes t. This stays radical 6. So we have 3t radical 6. And that is the guided practice. And that is 9.2 part 1, part 2, part 3 available here with your email, as well as everything else. Solution PowerPoints available as well. Thank you very much.